For me, just getting to Amsterdam was an adventure all on its own because I'm totally a cheapskate and had to fly from New Jersey because I didn't want to pay for everything else. And so I chose to take a bus from Michigan to New Jersey. And it went from Michigan to Ohio to Cincinnati, Ohio, and then through Pennsylvania to New Jersey. And it was a very, very, very long ride. And I think the hardest part for me was going from Michigan to Ohio because it was a longer part and it was in the dark. And it was I felt like I didn't quite fit in there. And it was really difficult because everybody was older than me. And so I just kind of sat in the back of the bus and kept to myself. And then once we got to Ohio, I found somebody to sit with. And it was nice, and I did get 2 hours of sleep. But my favorite part was driving through Pennsylvania because it's so green. There are so many trees, there are so many plants, and I got to watch the sunrise over the hill part with all the trees right next to the water, and it was probably one of the prettiest things I've ever saw. It was so nice. Coming to Amsterdam was definitely nerve-wracking, and flying was hard for me as well. And I took a train for the first time as well. And I didn't know I was going to take the train until the guy sitting next to me on the bus is oh, where are you headed? And I told him, he's oh, you got to take the train. And I'm nobody told me it was going to be this hard. And, I got myself lost a little bit, but I had plenty of time. And flying was an experience. It's okay once I got up in the air, but getting up in the air and then back down was not so much fun. We arrived in Iceland and it was so nice because I love the dark, gloomy weather, and that's what it was. It was 40 degrees, it was raining, and I really, really liked it a lot. Then coming here, it was so much brighter, and it kind of had this old-timey feeling with the buildings, but then the surroundings were so modern, with the tram and the cars and the technology. It just had this unique feeling. And it still didn't hit me that oh my gosh, I'm in Amsterdam, and I don't think it has yet either. But I really liked that first initial thought, and then walking around is a lot of walking. But I was nervous when I pulled up into the building because I never really made a connection with anybody else in the program, and so I was absolutely terrified. And I'm no, I'm not gonna make any friends, I'm just gonna fail the whole thing. And it was really hard. And that's really just me with anxiety. But I think now that we're a couple days in, I'm kind of figuring out the people around me, and we're able to make those connections. And it's really, really nice because I don't feel as alone as I initially did when I first arrived here. Murder in Amsterdam was a hard story for me to really get into. I'm not a history person, and really reading history makes me bored and tired and sleepy, and it was very hard for me to get through it just because of that. And I know history is important, and I know a lot of it is interesting. It's not what I'm personally into, so it was hard for me to retain a lot of it as well. And initially, I was shocked, just as everybody else was, that Amsterdam wasn't as accepting and friendly as everybody thought it was. And that thought only lasted for a second, because if you think about it, the immigrants that came to America thought the same way. They thought that we were this big melting pot and we were so accepting and so nice, and we're not. We're mean and we're rude and we judge people. And I think Amsterdam just has a better way of hiding it. We're totally blatant with it. Whereas here it's kind of toned down almost in a way. And so it kind of took that whole shock factor away, because it's oh, that's not a really big shocking thing because people thought that way about us. Reading Feminism is for Everybody was an emotional experience for me in a way, because it gave me the chance to look at myself and figure out what kind of person I am, and what kind of feminist I am and what kind of feminist I thrive to be. And it helped me like think about the way I think about certain things and how I can change that to make everything better and become the feminist that I want to be in order to change the world and make it a little bit better. And when we had our discussions in class about internal sexism, that like I never thought of things that way, and it actually makes a lot of sense why I do a lot of the things I do, and it kind of made me a little upset that I didn't realize it before. An example is like anytime like I bump into somebody or somebody bumps into me or I just genuinely feel in the way, my immediate thing I say is, I'm sorry, I get in the way a lot. And this comes from like this thought that's been always put in my head that like I am not allowed to take up space. And I feel like I don't deserve to take up this space. And it's hard for me to change that kind of thinking, and I'm working hard at it, and I have a lot more to do. But I think realizing what it is and like the foundation of it makes it easier for me to be able to combat those thinkings and to work harder on changing my thinking pattern for, you know, that and for other things too. Like overall, this whole week, past couple days, have been like very thought-provoking couple days for me, and I really enjoyed it. At the same time, it was difficult because now I have more things that like I have to focus on and recognize within myself. And for these next couple weeks, like I really hope to do more traveling, and I'm excited because I'm planning a lot of trips to the museums, and I love museums, and I'm super duper excited. And I do have like a week afterwards, after the program's over, that I'm gonna stay and travel some more and probably plan a trip to the Anne Frank house when I have time. And I'm really just excited to explore this city and, you know, kind of just be home in it for the next 6 weeks. So I'm really honored that I have the privilege to be able to come here and explore this.